Hello and howdy, everyone. Here to talk about the film I Saw the Devil. I rented it from Blockbuster on my little program there. I got it through the mail, so I don't have the fancy box to show you. But there's the Blu-ray. Watched it on Blu-ray. This film has been a long time coming for me. Maybe the slight victim of high expectations. I've had people telling me to watch this movie for some time now. In fact, I think it was about a year ago, maybe even getting close to 2 years ago, that someone officially requested that I watch and review this film. And I will, obviously I eventually do that, but emphasis on the word eventually. I do it on my own time. And basically, I knew what I was getting into. Maybe not as, much as I was getting into, but I knew that this was going to be heavy. I knew that it was going to be violent. And just sometimes I don't have the emotional fortitude to put up with something like this film. But I know I needed to see it. I'm a fan of Korean cinema. I'm just a fan of foreign film in general, but I think some of the best directors working today are Korean. I basically only know two Korean directors. My favorite being Bong Joon-ho, who did The Host, and he did the spectacular masterpiece of Mother, as well as Memories of Murder. Couple other films. He's my favorite. The other would be I may screw up his name. It's Park. I think Chan-wook Park, who did Old Boy, of course, the masterpiece Old Boy. This, and maybe it's because Old Boy is one of my favorite films. It's always fresh in my mind. That's why I kind of was a little harsh on this. I'm gonna give it, I guess I'll give it an 8. I kind of want to give it a 7. It's right in there. I enjoyed it. I appreciated it, but I don't think it was spectacular. Again, I've kind of been anticipating watching it because a lot of people want me to watch it, and I get that. This is, this is revenge. This is revenge on disc, basically. I'd say it's even more kind of intense than Park's Vengeance trilogy. It's definitely hardcore. It's definitely hardcore. I just wished, in a nutshell, that it would have been more broad. That it would have been more emotional. Emotional is not the right word, but more varied in tone. How about that? There's just not too many notes here. It's all just it's just all aggro, in your face all the time, and it never lets up, which is kind of an accomplishment, into itself. But I wanted to find out more about, the characters. It just felt like it was a singular mission of violence and vengeance, which again, it kind of is, but I just wanted something more. I wanted a more in-depth story. Again, just some more other emotions other than agony. There's just plenty of agony to be had in this film. It's about, again, revenge. Serial killer, madman, whatever, who seems to travel, in a madman circle. They all know each other. They have a union in Korea. I don't know how he just happens to meet all of his psycho buddies, but he does. Again, the film takes kind of large leaps of logic sometimes, and I stuck with it. I don't mind that too much, but I don't know. I seem very convenient at times. So we've got a serial killer kills the wrong woman. Has killed untold, women. Finally, kills the wrong one. Kills the wife, the pregnant wife of a Secret Service agent. And, he's a badass. And, basically flips, kind of... Again, if I knew more about the character, I could expound on this, but seems to abandon any sort of moral code that he has and becomes, he... he kills innocent people in his search for... maybe they're not so innocent. They're innocent of this crime, but, he kills and maims people that, are not connected to this at all. So, in a way, he kind of... this is taken straight from the movie, pretty much, is he becomes a monster to catch a monster. And I guess it is kind of a meditation on the nature of evil, and, what would you do? And is there any other way to deal with this? So there is a lot of interesting things to think about in terms of human nature. And that's basically it. He actually catches the guy within, I think, the first 45 minutes of the film, and I was like, where is this movie going to go from here? Actually, it may have even been shorter. It may have been like a half hour, 40 minutes. And I was like, where is the movie going to go from here? How is this a 2 hour and 10-minute film? And we're pretty much done at 40 minutes. But basically, he catches the guy, pretty much right away, who kills his wife, but instead opts to torture him, make his life, agony as well. So he releases him, catches and releases him, releases his prey so that he can hunt again, and pretty much does that, and lets this madman go and ruin other people's lives, traumatize and kill more and more. So it's like, I didn't really understand, at that point, to me, the hero became as guilty as the villain, and part of me kind of stopped caring. And that pattern of catch and release was like, all right, catch him, torture him, let him go. He runs, he finds someone, he kills them, and then, the good guy shows up again, tortures him more, and lets him go. The guy runs and kills more people. So it was just repetitive, it was very repetitive, maybe even monotonous. I found it to be, at times, a little tedious. It was just kind of a tedious experience watching the film, probably after the first hour. I was just kind of like, okay, I get it. All the acting, very good. You pretty much just have to be in intense mode at all times. I recognized some people, at least 3 faces from the film. I can't tell you their names, actually, since I have the little sleeve here. Maybe I can... the director, I haven't mentioned that yet, is Kim Ji-woon. That's a name I am unfamiliar with. I'm sure I might be able to remember it after watching this one. So he's the director. I'm not sure who wrote it. Lee Byung... I'm sorry if I butcher the name. Lee Byung-hun. Lee Byung-hun. Who I know they credit here on the sleeve. The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. I have seen that film. So I recognized him. It's not like I could have placed, oh, that's the guy from The Good, the Bad, and the Weird, if I hadn't read it on here. But I definitely recognized him. And the bad guy in this movie is the main guy from Old Boy. Choi Min-sik. He's good here. He doesn't have nearly as much heavy lifting to do as he did in Oldboy, but he's good here. He plays a very convincing psychotic, that's for damn sure. And then the third was actually a bit girl. I think she's probably played very similar roles in her past. In this film, I don't know if she has even more than one or two lines, but she's the wife, I guess you would say, possibly just live-in prisoner of the cannibal who lives out in the middle of the woods. She's just got these giant eyes, and I think that's what made me remember her. I've seen her in at least a couple things, I think, but she just got this incredibly unique look. Maybe it's just easy to remember her face for me. So I recognized her. All the acting, again, very good. Intense. It's like, I admire that, because these actors have to stay in a headspace that you would never want to be in. So that all the acting is pretty admirable. It's just the story. It's just that pounding, relentless violence and at times unnecessary action. It just kind of got to me. The violence is extreme. I felt bad for women, in this movie. I feel bad for women in a lot of Korean movies. But here I felt really bad for the actresses and God, they just, whatever. I just felt really bad for women, and I don't know what's going on with women's rights over in South Korea. How what their role is like over there, but boy, they're just used and abused and tortured in this film, and I felt really bad for them. I don't know what else to say. It looked good. It was really good cinematography. The score was, I guess it fit in with the film because it was just kind of constant and pounding and very loud, and the movie is kind of just very loud and constant and pounding. So at least the score went along with the film. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I'm glad I watched it. I mean, now I can say I've seen it because a lot of people talk about it. But I think there are a lot better examples of Korean cinema. I think that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Again, in terms of, like, this is extreme violence. It mentions right here that it was censored, censored in its native land of Korea, before it came out. This is unedited. The Blu-ray is, we in America got just the regular unedited version. And it is very violent, so it's kind of an endurance test, really. It's just an emotional endurance test. So I'm glad I did it. It could be done. I think that's pretty much all I've got to say. So yeah, I think I'm happy with that. So that's what was it? Kim Ji-woon. Kim Ji-woon's I Saw the Devil, and it super intense. I think I'll go ahead and give it a, again, I think an 8 is fine, just because there's a lot of good stuff going on, but it's just it's so emotionally taxing. I kind of want to give it a 7 too. It's somewhere, 7.5. I hate saying that, but it's right around in there. I thought it was good. I'm glad I watched it, but I certainly have no desire to see it again. After it was done, I didn't really think about it. Just maybe about a few moments of violence. But it kind of left me, just because I'd kind of checked out while watching it. It was, again, slightly boring, just because it's repetitively, gory and violent. It was just kind of like, all right. All right, so there you go. That's I Saw the Devil. I'll give it I'll give it a 7. Fine, I'll give it a 7. I recommend it, but it's not for the average Joe. You've got to want to watch Korean torture porn. All right, so there you go. Have a good one.